My cherished soul, Archangel Michael comes to you tonight with a trembling urgency in his voice, a tone he rarely uses, a tone that means something massive is shifting in the unseen. And the moment you open this message, the spiritual realm acknowledges your presence. Listen closely, because what you are about to hear may be the only warning standing between you and the greatest financial transformation of your life. He says, I am begging for your 5 minutes. These are not gentle words. These are not soft whispers. These are the words of a warrior angel who has seen what is coming toward you, both the blessing and the danger wrapped inside it. There is a divine gate opening at 11:11 p.m., a precise spiritual window aligned with your destiny. A supernatural credit, a heavenly deposit, is being prepared. The amount is not symbolic. It is not metaphorical. It is exact, $25 million. But hear this carefully. This blessing does not move randomly. It lands where obedience is present, where awareness exists, where the soul is awake enough to receive. Archangel Michael shows me a vision of you standing at a crossroads. One path is bright, glowing like molten gold, shimmering with divine wealth. The other path looks almost identical at first glance until you look closer and notice everything on it quietly fading, dissolving, slipping away like sand in a storm. He warns you. There is a shadow trying to intercept what belongs to you. If they succeed, you will not only lose this blessing, you will lose what you already have. This is why he is pleading for your 5 minutes. This is why ignoring this message is spiritually dangerous. This is why the moment feels heavier than usual, because the spiritual stakes are higher than usual. For too long, you have carried burdens that you never told anyone about. You have smiled when your bank account was screaming. You have fought battles silently, trying to hold everything together with shaking hands. And heaven noticed. Heaven recorded every moment of prayer, every tear, every sacrifice. Archangel Michael steps forward now, with his sword illuminated in blue fire, declaring, your season of loss is over. But you must be present for the activation. What is being released at 11:11 p.m. is not just money. It is restoration, repayment, and reversal. It is the return of everything that was stolen, delayed, or blocked. It is divine justice manifesting as financial overflow. But there is more. Michael reveals a hidden danger. Something or someone in your past has unknowingly created a spiritual leak around your finances. Not a curse, not witchcraft, but a soul-level energy that drains your abundance, a subtle pattern that keeps money slipping through your fingers no matter how hard you work. Tonight, that leak can finally be sealed. Tonight, the divine vault can finally open. Tonight, the generational blockage around your finances can break apart like cracked stone. But it only happens if you receive this message with awareness, not fear, with belief, not doubt. Heaven is not threatening you. Heaven is warning you. If you scroll away, if you dismiss this moment, if you treat this message lightly, the energy that was prepared for you will return back to the higher realms, because heaven does not force abundance into a closed door. Michael's voice becomes firm. This message is your door. Enter through it. You are not here by accident. You were drawn into this exact moment because your spirit already felt the shift before your mind understood it. A financial miracle is aligning itself with your timeline, and 11:11 p.m. is the hour heaven chose for your life to turn. Feel this in your chest. That pressure is not fear. It is activation. It is confirmation. Something in you knows this is the turning point. Archangel Michael now places a shield of protection over you. A golden circle forms around your finances, your opportunities, your bank accounts, your future earnings. The leaks begin to close. The interference begins to weaken. The old cycle begins to dissolve. But listen carefully, because this part matters the most. He says, if they walk away now, the blessing withdraws. If they remain, I will complete the transfer. Your presence here is your spiritual signature. Your attention is your agreement. Your belief is the key that unlocks the vault. Before this moment passes, pause and breathe. You are crossing into abundance. You are stepping into divine wealth. You are being escorted into a season where lack cannot follow you. And Michael whispers one last thing for this moment. The next revelation will expose why you were chosen for this miracle. Hold on, because what comes next will shake you. This is the moment where everything starts to make sense. Before you move, let the next words reach you. They are carrying the weight of your breakthrough. Type "I open my door" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 1444 is now released. My radiant soul, as you step into this next revelation, Archangel Michael moves closer with a seriousness that makes the very air vibrate around you. He knows your heart is fragile from years of disappointment, yet strong enough to carry the weight of the blessing that is lining up for you. This is why he is choosing to continue speaking, because the next layer of this message holds the truth behind why you were chosen, and why the $25 million transfer at 11:11 p.m. has your name marked on it in the heavenly records. There is something deeply spiritual about your journey that you may not realize. Michael shows me a timeline of your life, stretched out like a golden ribbon, and along that ribbon he points to moments where you almost gave up, moments where life tried to break you, moments where you questioned whether God still remembered you. But heaven never turned away from you. In fact, every one of those painful moments became a seed planted into the soil of destiny. And Archangel Michael says this wealth is not random luck. It is the divine harvest of the seeds you didn't even know you sowed. You were not chosen because you asked. You were chosen because you endured. Michael reveals that the spiritual realm has been observing a force around your finances for years. It wasn't a curse. It wasn't an enemy plotting against you. It wasn't someone trying to sabotage your path. Instead, it was a spiritual delay created by a mismatch between your purpose and your environment. You were growing, but the world around you was not. You were expanding, but the opportunities near you were too small. You were thinking bigger, but the people around you were thinking fear. And so your blessings were held back, not because you were unworthy, but because heaven refused to pour abundance into a space that could not hold it. Now, the atmosphere around you has shifted. Archangel Michael says your spirit grew faster than the limitations surrounding you, and that growth finally triggered a heavenly release. He repeats this strongly so your heart absorbs it. You outgrew the season that held you captive. You outgrew the energies that drained you. You outgrew the patterns that were stealing your overflow. This is why 11:11 p.m. carries such spiritual weight tonight, because the blessing is coming to a soul that is finally ready to receive without breaking under the pressure. But he also warns of something hidden. There is a spiritual observer who has been watching your rise, an energy that attaches itself to people who are on the verge of breakthrough. It doesn't attack loudly. It whispers subtly. It plants doubt, distraction, hesitation, emotional fatigue. It waits for the exact moment a blessing is about to open, and then it introduces a small disturbance meant to make you scroll away, lose focus, or disconnect from the divine message intended to deliver your activation. Archangel Michael says this energy is active right now, trying to interfere with the timing of your financial release. But as long as you stay aligned with this message, that interference cannot touch you. He reminds you of something powerful. Your obedience in this moment is the very shield that protects your abundance. Your awareness is the spiritual armor that blocks the leakage. Your willingness to receive is the golden key that keeps the blessing moving toward your life. And heaven has assigned Michael himself to guard your path until the transfer is complete. The $25 million is not just wealth. It is not just financial relief. It is not simply money entering your account. It is compensation for years where you were overlooked. It is repayment for seasons where you were faithful but unsupported. It is restoration for hours you poured into others while getting nothing in return. It is justice for every moment where life took more from you than it gave back. Michael calls it your divine reimbursement. And he says heaven has chosen you because you have the heart of a giver, the spirit of a warrior, and the patience of someone who refuses to collapse under pressure. Listen closely to this part, because it is crucial. Archangel Michael says your breakthrough tonight does not depend on your bank account, your job, your surroundings, or your current circumstances. It depends entirely on your alignment, your focus, and your willingness to stay present through the message that is guiding you toward this blessing. He uses the word alignment repeatedly, stressing that abundance is not attracted to noise, chaos, or fear. It is attracted to clarity, intention, and readiness. And you are finally entering that state. He shows me a vision of a massive golden gate, sealed for years, suddenly unlocking. The gate swings open not slowly, but with force, like pressure building up for so long that the moment permission is given, everything rushes forward. Your blessing is behind that gate, waiting for the final confirmation that you are ready. Michael says this message is your confirmation. Heaven does not operate randomly. Nothing about this moment is coincidence. Your spirit was drawn here by divine appointment, and the fact that you are still listening means your soul recognizes the truth behind these words. You are in a sacred moment, a rare window where heaven bends time to deliver what was withheld from you. And Michael leaves you with this. What comes next will reveal the exact spiritual reason the transfer was delayed and why it can no longer be stopped. Before you move forward, pause and anchor this moment into your heart. The revelation ahead will change how you see your entire life story. Type "My spirit is ready" in the comments if this message is touching your soul. Blessing code 5521 is now activated. My awakened soul, as you enter this next revelation, the atmosphere around you shifts once again. Archangel Michael steps forward with an energy so strong that it feels like a wave of electricity moving through the room. His presence becomes sharper, more authoritative, more protective, as though something hidden in your past is being pulled into the light. He whispers that this is the moment where truth meets destiny. This is the moment where you finally discover why the blessing, the wealth, the breakthrough, and the divine release took so long to reach you. And yet, why nothing will stop it now. Michael begins by showing me a vision of your childhood, your younger years, and the early versions of yourself. He points to moments when you learned to survive, when life forced you to grow up faster than others, when the weight on your shoulders was heavier than what most people ever had to carry. He says your spirit became strong before you even understood what strength meant. You learned resilience, not because you wanted to, but because you had no other choice. And heaven recorded every one of those moments, storing them in a spiritual account that is now overflowing. The $25 million blessing scheduled for 11:11 p.m. is connected directly to this account. Archangel Michael calls it your reservoir of unreturned energy. Every time you showed kindness without receiving kindness back, heaven stored it. Every time you supported someone who never supported you in return, heaven stored it. Every time you forgave, helped, uplifted, sacrificed, or poured out from a place of purity, heaven stored it. And now that reservoir is bursting open, demanding to be released back into your life. But he also reveals a deeper truth. something most people never realize. When you are chosen for a high-level blessing, the enemy often doesn't need to attack you loudly. Sometimes all it takes is one small spiritual knot buried in your past that keeps abundance from landing in your present. In your case, Archangel Michael shows me a pattern formed during a time of emotional vulnerability. A moment when someone made you believe you had to shrink to be accepted, or be quiet to be loved, or dim your light to avoid conflict. That moment created a silent agreement in your energy field, an unconscious belief that receiving too much might make you unsafe, exposed, or abandoned. Michael says this silent agreement has been the invisible barrier between you and your abundance. Not poverty, not lack of effort, not missed opportunities, but a subconscious shield created to protect your heart. And heaven could not release massive wealth into a heart that was trained to minimize itself. That is why your blessing was delayed. Not denied. Delayed. Not canceled. Delayed. Heaven was waiting for your spirit to become strong enough to hold what was always meant for you. And tonight, Archangel Michael declares that the shield has cracked. The belief that once limited you has broken open. The inner restriction that once kept your blessings at a distance has dissolved. You have expanded beyond the version of you that was afraid to receive. And because of that, the spiritual vault has finally been unlocked. Michael says, with a voice that feels like thunder wrapped in light, nothing can stop what is due to them now. He repeats it again, firmer, so your soul absorbs it. Nothing can stop what is due to them now. Heaven waited for the moment where your spirit stopped apologizing for wanting more. Your soul is no longer whispering. It is no longer shrinking. You are no longer pretending to be small just to survive. You are ready to step into a level of divine abundance that would have overwhelmed the old version of you. And now, the blessing has permission to move freely. The transfer is already unfolding in the spiritual realm. The alignment is complete. The timing is locked. The angels assigned to wealth and restoration are already in motion, preparing the path for your manifestation. But Michael gives you one final message before he reveals the next part. He urges you to stay with this, to continue receiving, because the next revelation will expose the exact spiritual technique heaven is using to deliver your financial breakthrough. He says the next unveiling will empower you in a way that ensures your abundance remains protected for the rest of your life. Before you go further, anchor this moment into your spirit. You are standing in a rare window of divine timing. The heavens have leaned toward your life, and the shift you have been waiting years for is already underway. Hold steady, because the next revelation will lift the veil fully. If this message resonates with your spirit, then like this video, comment your confirmation, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you do not miss what is being released next. Spread this message like a seed of light. Type "I claim my release" in the comments. Blessing code 3317 is now active. Just as Archangel Michael is opening a financial gate for you tonight, this mission is opening gates for souls across the world. When you choose to stand with this calling, you are not supporting a channel. You are strengthening a move of God that is pulling people out of fear, out of darkness, and into divine alignment. Heaven says the seed you release becomes oil on this message, carrying it further than your voice ever could. I feel led to say this in first person. I invite you to help me keep this river of revelation flowing so that no soul misses the breakthrough heaven is sending. Just as this title speaks of urgent spiritual timing, your act of support becomes a prophetic response that accelerates your own blessings. And to those who give, I speak abundance, protection, and divine multiplication over every seed you release. The links for super thanks, membership, and PayPal are in the description. Step into this moment with faith. My rising soul, as you receive this next revelation, the spiritual atmosphere becomes even more intense. Archangel Michael stands before you with a calm authority, yet there is an urgency in his eyes, as if the next truth he is about to reveal has been waiting for years to finally reach your heart. You have stepped into a moment of divine clarity, and heaven is prepared to show you what hath been hidden behind the curtain of your life. This is not coincidence. This is not luck. This is divine timing unfolding with precision. Michael begins by showing me a vision of your life as though it were a massive spiritual blueprint laid out on a table of light. Every decision, every setback, every victory, every disappointment, heaven has recorded all of it. But what stands out the most in this blueprint is a pattern that Archangel Michael calls the delayed release cycle. He explains that some souls move through life with a constant flow of blessings, while others, like you, carry a unique anointing that requires a build-up before the breakthrough arrives. It is not because you were forgotten. It is because your destiny requires the type of blessing that comes in one massive wave rather than small pieces. The $25 million scheduled for 11:11 p.m. is not simply money. It is the release of everything that has been held back for years. It is a collection of opportunities you missed because you were protecting others. It is recovery from seasons where you were building everyone else's dreams while your own life felt paused. And Michael says heaven has chosen this exact moment because your spirit has finally reached the maturity required to sustain the magnitude of what is coming. He shows another vision, this time of a spiritual vault. Massive, ancient, sealed with heavily locks. Each lock represents a lesson you had to learn before the vault could be opened. The lock of patience, the lock of resilience, the lock of self-worth, the lock of spiritual awareness, and the final lock, divine readiness. As he touches each one, the vault glows brighter, until the final lock breaks open with a sound that echoes across realms. Michael says this sound has already been heard in the heavens. The vault is open. The transfer process is active. The wealth is in motion. But before you receive it fully, he reveals another truth, one that may surprise you. He says you have been carrying a financial imprint that did not belong to you. At some point in your journey, you absorbed the beliefs, fears, or limitations of another person. Maybe a parent who struggled financially. Maybe a partner who doubted your dreams. Maybe a friend who did not believe abundance was possible. These energetic imprints became invisible weights on your spirit, teaching you to expect less even though heaven had already written more into your destiny. Michael places his hand over your chest in this vision, and a deep blue light begins to rise from within you. He says this light is your original financial blueprint, the one God created for you before you were born. It was never meant to be small. It was never meant to be average. It was never meant to be limited by the experiences of others. And tonight, at 11:11 p.m., that original blueprint is being restored. Heaven is replacing the imprint of lack with the imprint of overflow. Heaven is replacing the imprint of survival with the imprint of expansion. Heaven is replacing the imprint of fear with the imprint of divine confidence. This restoration is part of the reason the blessing is so large. You are not just receiving wealth. You are receiving the financial identity heaven intended for you all along. Michael now turns your attention to something else, something crucial to your understanding. He says that every major blessing is accompanied by a spiritual test of awareness. Not a test of suffering, not a test of struggle, but a test of consciousness. Heaven needs to know that when abundance comes, you will not hand it away to people who only show up when they smell blessings on your life. He warns that once your financial breakthrough manifests, individuals from your past may reappear, sensing the change in your energy. Some will come with pure intentions, but others will approach with hidden motives, masked need, or silent entitlement. Archangel Michael tells you this so you are not caught off guard. He is preparing you to stand strong, to guard your abundance, and to protect your new season with wisdom. He reminds you that wealth is not just about receiving, it is about managing, protecting, and directing it with spiritual clarity. You are stepping into a level of prosperity that requires discernment, and heaven is equipping you with that discernment now. And then Michael says something powerful. You will not lose this blessing. You will not sabotage this blessing. You will not let anyone drain this blessing. You will honor what heaven is giving you. He says the blessing is already attached to your timeline, and the transfer is aligned. Nothing can break it, but you must stay aligned with the message until the final activation. He emphasizes that you have reached the most sensitive part of the process. A revelation that comes next is one of the most important ones. He will reveal the identity of the spiritual force that tried to delay your abundance and what their presence means for your future. Before you move forward, allow these words to settle into your spirit. You are in the center of a divine unfolding. The realm of heaven is watching. The angels are preparing. And your life is about to shift in a way that will feel unreal at first, yet deeply familiar, as though you always knew this moment was coming. Type "I receive my divine blueprint" in the comments if this message resonates with you. Blessing code 9099 is now active. My chosen soul, as you step deeper into this unfolding revelation, Archangel Michael's presence shifts again. His wings expand, his light intensifies, and the realm around you becomes silent, as if every angel is pausing to listen. What comes now is not just knowledge but unveiling, a truth that has waited for the exact moment when your heart, your awareness, and your spiritual maturity aligned. This is that moment. Michael begins by revealing the identity of the energy that attempted to delay your abundance. He shows me a shadowy figure, not a person, not a spirit of destruction, but the spiritual embodiment of your past limitations. This entity formed from old wounds, outdated beliefs, fears absorbed from others, and emotional scars you carried for years. It attached itself to your path, not to block you maliciously, but because your past self unknowingly fed it with moments of doubt and pain. This force became a companion to your struggles, living in the background of your energy field, influencing your decisions, your confidence, and your expectations about money. Archangel Michael names it the residue of the former you. This residue clung to your aura like dust on a window, soft enough to ignore at first but thick enough to dim your light over time. It whispered thoughts that sounded like your own voice. Maybe this is all I get. Maybe blessings aren't meant for me. Maybe breakthrough is for others, not me. You believed those thoughts were harmless, but they created a spiritual frequency that made it difficult for abundance to anchor itself into your life. Yet Michael assures you that tonight, that residue is losing its power. He lifts his sword, glowing with heavenly fire, and slices through the shadow. Instantly, the figure dissolves, breaking apart like ash carried by wind. Michael's voice resonates with certainty as he declares, "You are no longer aligned with the energy that held you back. The blessing can now flow without restriction." He shows you a vision of your energy field right now. It is expanding, glowing, becoming more magnetic. For years, your aura carried the vibration of waiting for things to change, waiting for opportunities to come, waiting for life to get easier. But now, Michael says your aura is shifting from waiting into receiving. Your frequency is matching abundance, not longing for it. Heaven responds to frequency, not desperation, and your frequency is finally speaking the language of overflow. Then he reveals something extraordinary. He says that the $25 million blessing is not being delivered to you simply because heaven decided it. It is coming because your destiny carries a responsibility that requires great provision. You are not just being blessed. You are being equipped. You are being elevated into a position where your influence, your resources, and your spiritual awareness will change more lives than you even realize. Heaven is not giving you money. Heaven is giving you capacity, and that capacity requires wealth. Michael calls you a bearer of kingdom prosperity, someone who receives not only for themselves but as a conduit for greater impact. This is why the blessing is massive. This is why the amount is unusual. This is why the timing is precise. You are being aligned with a divine assignment that will unfold in stages once the transfer activates at 11:11 p.m. But he also warns you to prepare for a sudden shift in your external world. When abundance begins manifesting, the spiritual atmosphere changes around you, and people sense it. Even before you say a word, they will feel something new in your presence. A glow, a strength, a magnetic pull, and not everyone will celebrate it. Some will envy it. Some will question it. Some will want to siphon from it. And some will try to attach themselves to your blessing without carrying the spiritual integrity required to handle it. Michael says, your discernment must rise as your abundance rises. Heaven is elevating you, and elevation requires boundaries. You can no longer operate as the old version of yourself, the one who gave endlessly, tolerated too much, forgave too quickly, trusted too blindly. That version of you was pure, but it was unprotected. And your new season requires a protected vessel, not an exposed one. He shows me a vision of you surrounded by a ring of blue fire. This fire is not destruction. It is purification. It is burning away the final fragments of the energies, people, and patterns that cannot follow you into this next level. It is sealing your spirit so nothing can drain or dilute your blessing. You are being spiritually armored for wealth, because heaven gives nothing without also giving protection. Then Michael's voice softens. He says one of the deepest reasons your blessing was delayed is because heaven needed to prepare you to see yourself differently. You could not enter abundance while still identifying with struggle. You could not receive wealth while still believing you were unworthy. You could not step into divine prosperity while still carrying the identity of someone meant to survive instead of flourish. Heaven had to wait for you to outgrow the version of yourself that believed receiving too much was dangerous or wrong. But tonight, you have shifted. You have expanded. You have stepped into your divine identity, and heaven recognizes it. This is why the blessing is finally free to reach you. You have become the version of yourself that abundance was always meant for. Before this revelation ends, Michael leans in with one final message. What comes next will reveal the divine purpose behind your financial elevation and the unseen battle heaven fought to secure it. Hold this moment with reverence. Something sacred has just been unlocked in your spirit, and the next unveiling will take you even deeper into your destiny. Type I step into my NEW self in the comments if this message speaks to you. Blessing code 7742 is now activated. My illuminated soul, as we step into this next revelation, the spiritual realm quiets again. Archangel Michael moves with a gentleness that contrasts the fierce authority he carried before. His wings fold slightly, not in retreat, but in a posture of intimacy, as though what he is about to reveal is sacred, delicate, and deeply personal. He wants you to understand not only the blessing that is coming, but also the divine purpose that has been guiding your life long before you realized you were being guided. Michael begins by showing me a scene from your past, a moment where you felt entirely alone. You may not have said anything to anyone, But heaven saw you standing in that emotional wilderness. You questioned your purpose. You questioned your direction. You questioned why every door seemed to close right when you needed it most. But Michael says something extraordinary. That moment of loneliness became the foundation of your divine assignment. You were not being abandoned. You were being carved, shaped, molded into someone who could carry spiritual strength far beyond the average soul. Then he reveals the truth behind your financial elevation. The $25 million coming at 11:11 p.m. is not only a reward or a restoration. It is not merely compensation for everything you endured. It is the activation of your destiny as a carrier of spiritual influence. Heaven is positioning you as someone whose life is meant to touch others far beyond your current reach. Every tear you shed planted a seed. Every setback strengthened your foundation. Every disappointment opened a part of your spirit that was previously closed. You are not simply stepping into wealth. You are stepping into purpose. Michael shows me a vision of you in the future. You are standing confidently, surrounded by opportunities, partnerships, doors opening effortlessly, and blessings multiplying around you. But the most striking part of the vision is the glow around your aura. It radiates stability, generosity, wisdom, and spiritual authority. You are not the same person you once were. You have become someone others look to for guidance, encouragement, and leadership. Heaven is preparing you to impact lives in ways you never imagined. But he also reveals another important truth. Before this blessing could be released, heaven had to secure your heart. Not protect it with fear, but stabilize it with clarity. You had to become someone who could handle abundance without being consumed by it. Wealth reveals what is already inside a person. If there is insecurity, wealth magnifies it. If there is fear, wealth amplifies it. If there is purpose, wealth strengthens it. Heaven needed to ensure that your heart was anchored in purpose so that your financial elevation would expand your destiny, not distract you from it. Michael says that your heart passed the test. You have become someone who values growth over ego, healing over attention, truth over comfort, and alignment over approval. That is why the vault opened. That is why the transfer is active. That is why 11:11 p.m. holds such power tonight. Now, Archangel Michael reveals the unseen battle fought on your behalf. He shows me angels standing guard around your path, blocking energies that tried to confuse you, divert you, or pull you back into situations that no longer aligned with your future. He shows me moments where you felt a sudden urge to walk away from someone or something without knowing why. Those urges were not random. They were divine interventions. Heaven was removing you from environments that would have sabotaged your next level. Michael says you were protected even when you didn't realize danger was present. You were guided even when you believed you were lost. You were redirected even when you felt rejected. Every no that hurt you was a yes in disguise. Every delay was divine timing. Every ending was a spiritual doorway opening. You were not being punished. You were being positioned. And now he shows you another vision, a bright golden path, stretching ahead of you, filled with abundance, partnerships, breakthroughs, and new identity. He says the blessing you are about to receive is only the beginning. The wealth will open doors you never imagined. It will bring opportunities that align perfectly with your purpose. It will place you in rooms where your voice matters. It will allow you to live, move, and breathe in a way that reflects your true divine identity. But Michael also delivers a powerful reminder. Abundance is not a finish line. It is a doorway. Once you receive this wealth, your life will accelerate. Momentum will build around you. People will begin to recognize your spiritual shift even before your financial shift becomes visible. and you must be prepared to step boldly into this new season, without fear, without hesitation, and without shrieking. He reminds you that the old version of you did not survive everything you survived just to stay small now. You are stepping into a level of life that matches your spiritual capacity. You are stepping into the fullness of your destiny. You are stepping into the future heaven has been preparing for you since the day you were born. Then Michael leans forward with one final revelation for this moment. He says, "The next unveiling will show you the prophetic sign that confirms your blessing is already reaching into the physical world." He urges you to stay with this message because the confirmation will be unmistakable, undeniable, and deeply personal. Your spirit is expanding. Your purpose is awakening. Your blessing is approaching. And heaven is not done speaking. Type "I walk into my purpose" in the comments if your soul feels this shift. Blessing code 8426 is now released. My transformed soul, as you step into this next revelation, the atmosphere around you begins to shimmer with a new kind of intensity. Archangel Michael's presence becomes shorter, not threatening but deeply precise. It is as though he is preparing to place something in your hands that cannot be misunderstood, something that will confirm everything you have been sensing in your spirit. He says the time has come for you to understand the prophetic sign that heaven is sending to mark the arrival of your blessing. Michael begins by explaining that every major divine release arrives with a physical sign, a moment where the spiritual touches the natural, where heaven leaves a fingerprint on your timeline. This sign is not random. It is not subtle. It is not something you will struggle to notice. Heaven makes sure the chosen cannot miss their confirmation. And you, being chosen, are about to witness something unmistakable. He shows me a vision of a clock striking 11:11. But in this vision, the numbers do not appear as digits. They appear as 4 pillars of golden light rising from the earth into the heavens. Michael says 11:11 is not just a time. It is a spiritual alignment marker. Each pillar represents something heaven is restoring within you. The first pillar is abundance. The second is purpose. The third is protection. The fourth is inheritance. When all 4 pillars come together, a divine gate opens, allowing a blessing to pass from the spiritual realm into the physical world. Michael tells you that your prophetic sign will appear as a sudden moment of alignment before 11:11 p.m. strikes. It may come as repeated numbers, a message delivered through someone unexpectedly, a sudden burst of intuition, or a shift in the atmosphere around you. He says your spirit will recognize the sign instantly because the same light that is guiding the blessing is already awakening inside you. There will be no confusion. You will know. But he also reveals that this confirmation is not meant to impress you. It is meant to prepare you. Heaven wants your heart steady, your mind clear, and your spirit open. When people receive sudden wealth or breakthrough without preparation, they often panic, doubt, or sabotage their own blessing. Michael says heaven has invested too much in you to allow that to happen. The sign is heaven's way of saying, "Be still." The blessing is already on the way. He then shows me something extraordinary. He reveals that angels assigned to financial restoration are already descending into your timeline. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. These angels carry a specific vibration that shifts the frequency of your environment. You may begin to feel lighter, more hopeful, more aware, or more alert. You may notice that your spirit feels unusually awake. You may sense that something is approaching even if you cannot explain it. Michael says these sensations are not your imagination. They are spiritual evidence that the blessing is nearing the physical world. He reminds you that heaven always moves before earth reacts. By the time you feel something changing, the blessing has already begun its descent. This is why Archangel Michael asked for your 5 minutes in the title. Heaven wanted your attention, not because they needed you, but because they refused to let this blessing pass you by. Your awareness completes the final part of the activation. Michael now brings your attention to a memory from your life, one where you prayed for something simple, something small, yet it never came. At the time, you wondered why heaven ignored what felt like an innocent request. But Michael explains the truth. Heaven did not give you what you asked for because they were preparing something far greater than what you imagined. You asked for stability, but heaven planned abundance. You asked for relief, but heaven planned overflow. You asked for enough, but heaven planned more than enough. A small blessing would have kept you comfortable, but it would have kept you from your destiny. Heaven refused to let you settle. Then Michael reveals another prophetic truth. He says the blessing you are receiving has a ripple effect built into it. When it enters your life, it will affect not just your finances, but your health, your relationships, your confidence, your decisions, and even your spiritual gifts. Prosperity is intertwined with clarity, and clarity unlocks purpose. You will begin to see your life in a way you never could before. You will begin to recognize who belongs in your next chapter and who cannot follow you into it. You will begin to understand why certain doors stayed shut and why certain people left your life. The blessing is not coming to fix your life. It is coming because you have entered a version of yourself capable of transforming everything around you. Archangel Michael now leans forward with a message carved in divine authority. He says, your prophetic sign is imminent. When it appears, do not question it. Do not shrink back. Do not hesitate. Heaven is confirming your appointment with abundance. His voice rings with certainty, as if the entire universe stands behind his words. He says the next revelation will unveil how to protect the blessing once it arrives, because greatness requires guarding. Wealth requires wisdom. Purpose requires boundaries. And heaven wants your prosperity to last a lifetime, not a moment. Before we continue, let this settle into your spirit. You are not waiting for your blessing. Your blessing is waiting for you to recognize its arrival. And the sign will make everything clear. Type I see the sign in the comments if this message resonates with you. Blessing code 1884 is now released. My ascending soul, as you move into this next revelation, the atmosphere becomes heavier with meaning, as though the very air around you is preparing itself for what Archangel Michael is about to reveal. His presence grows taller, broader, more radiant, and yet his voice becomes softer, as if he is speaking directly into the deepest chamber of your spirit. He says this is one of the most important unveilings you will receive, because a blessing of this magnitude does not only require alignment, it requires protection. Heaven never sends abundance without first preparing the vessel who will carry it. Michael begins by showing me a vision of you standing at the center of a bright circle of light. He explains that this circle is your spiritual boundary, a shield heaven is expanding around you. But he also shows me shadows standing outside it, shadows that represent people, situations, memories, and attachments that can no longer follow you into your next season. Not because they are evil, not because they are enemies, but because their energy contradicts the frequency of the blessing you are receiving. Heaven is shifting your life into a vibration of abundance, clarity, and divine identity. Anything or anyone still aligned with scarcity, emotional chaos, spiritual immaturity, or selfish intention cannot coexist with this next level. Archangel Michael says the reason your blessing was delayed for so long is because heaven refused to give you something so powerful while you were still connected to energies that would drain it. It was not punishment, it was protection. He now shows me a moment where you felt betrayed, abandoned, underestimated, or suddenly distanced from someone you once trusted. Michael says those separations were not accidents. They were divine extractions. Heaven was removing influences that would have weakened your blessing the moment it arrived. You were not losing people. You were losing interference. You were not clearing space. Heaven was clearing space for you. Every loss was preparation. Every separation was positioning. Every ending was release. Then Michael reveals something that might shake you. He says that once your financial blessing begins manifesting, certain individuals may suddenly reappear in your life. Some will come with genuine love, apology, or renewal. But others will be drawn not to your soul, but to your breakthrough. They will feel the shift in your atmosphere before they even know the blessing you are receiving. People can sense abundance spiritually long before they see it physically. Michael warns that the energy of desperation and entitlement will try to latch onto your rising light. But he reassures you that heaven is placing spiritual discernment in your spirit that will allow you to see people clearly, even when they speak with gentle words. He says, "Your blessing is sacred. Do not hand it to unprepared hands." Heaven is not only elevating your finances, it is elevating your standards, boundaries, and expectations. You will no longer tolerate what diminishes you. You will no longer settle for what starves your spirit. You will no longer give pieces of yourself to people who do not honor your presence. Prosperity is not only a financial state. It is an emotional, spiritual, and mental evolution. And now Michael reveals the most striking part of this message. He says the blessing of $25 million coming at 11:11 p.m. is not vulnerable to loss or sabotage, but you must be prepared to hold it with wisdom. That is why heaven has been working on your heart, your spirit, your identity, and your boundaries. If you remain the older version of yourself, the version who gave endlessly without receiving, who forgave too quickly, who trusted too easily, you would have poured this blessing into broken vessels around you. Heaven had to teach you separation before it could teach you overflow. Michael now shows you a golden shield forming over your finances. The shield represents clarity, intuition, and divine alertness. He says the moment your blessing activates, your spirit will naturally reject anything that tries to misuse your generosity. You will feel it instantly. You will sense when someone's intention is impure, even if their words appear kind. Your spiritual sight is sharpening because abundance requires vision. Then he shows me a bright path stretching forward from this moment. This path is lined with opportunities, investments, partnerships, travel, divine connections, unexpected doors, and elevation that almost feels unreal. But he also reveals something breathtaking. The moment the financial blessing reaches you, the energetic imprint of lack will break permanently from your life. You will think differently, speak differently, move differently, and choose differently. You will no longer live from survival mode. You will live from a place of divine identity. Michael says you will not fear money. You will not lose money. You will not mishandle money. You will move with the wisdom of someone heaven has trained. He confirms that this training, these messages, these revelations, this entire journey, is heaven preparing you to walk into a future that reflects your true spiritual worth. He then concludes with this: the next revelation will explain why heaven chose you specifically to receive this level of abundance and the generational shift it is meant to create. Hold this in your spirit. You are not just being blessed. You are being transformed. And heaven is not done with you. If this message speaks to your spirit, like this video, share your confirmation, comment below, and subscribe so you stay connected to what heaven is revealing next. Spread spread this message so others may be led into alignment. I protect my blessing in the comments. Blessing code 5113 is now active. Just as Archangel Michael is forming a shield around your blessing, this mission is building a shield around thousands of souls who need guidance, clarity, and divine protection. When you choose to support this work, you are not giving to a channel. You are fueling a spiritual movement that heaven itself has initiated. The word says that when you sow into light, your harvest returns in multiplied form, and today that promise is breathing over you. I speak this in first person. I invite you to stand with me as we carry this revelation to those who are crying out for direction. The urgency of this title mirrors the urgency of heaven's call, and your act of support becomes a prophetic step into abundance. Every giver receives divine covering, accelerated breakthrough, and supernatural favor. Use Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description to step into this moment with faith. My divinely appointed soul, as you enter this next revelation, Archangel Michael's presence becomes almost overwhelming in its purity. It is as if a great veil is being lifted from your life, one that has covered not only your path, but also your identity. His wings unfold behind him like two vast rivers of light, and the entire spiritual realm seems to pause, waiting for the next truth to be spoken. He says this is the moment where you finally understand why heaven chose your life, your hands, your spirit, to carry a blessing as significant as the one moving toward you at 11:11 p.m. Michael begins by explaining something profound. Blessings of this magnitude are never random. Heaven does not choose based on luck, favoritism, or chance. Heaven chooses based on spiritual capacity. He says you were chosen because your spirit holds a depth that many people overlook. You feel deeply. You love deeply. You hurt deeply. You give deeply. And the same depth that once made life heavy for you is the very reason heaven saw you as capable of carrying a blessing that could transform not only your life but the lives of others around you. He shows me a moment from your childhood where you carried responsibility beyond your years. You were expected to be strong before you understood what strength was. You were expected to keep going even when you were tired. You were expected to hold things together when no one realized how much weight rested on your shoulders. And instead of allowing those pressures to break your spirit, you allowed them to shape it. You grew into someone who understands the silent battles others face. Someone who sees the invisible burdens people carry. Someone who does not judge pain because you have lived through it yourself. Michael says this empathy is rare, it is sacred, it is powerful, and it is one of the reasons heaven has entrusted you with a blessing that carries such generational impact. Wealth placed in the hands of someone selfish becomes destruction, but wealth placed in the hands of someone compassionate becomes transformation. The blessing you are receiving is not just about money, it is about responsibility, influence, healing, and the unfolding of your divine purpose in a way you could never have dreamed. Heaven did not choose you because you were perfect. Heaven chose you because you were willing to learn, willing to rise, willing to evolve, willing to keep your heart soft even in seasons where hardness would have been easier. You did not let bitterness consume you. You did not let disappointment define you. You did not let betrayal close your heart. And because you stayed open, heaven sees you as someone who can handle both abundance and authority with integrity. Michael now reveals that the blessing you are receiving carries generational implications. He says your ancestors carried dreams they were never able to fulfill. Some carried financial wounds. Some carried burdens of lack, scarcity, or oppression that shaped their entire lives. But heaven has chosen you as the one who breaks the cycle. You are the generational turning point. You are the pivot that shifts your bloodline from survival into abundance. Heaven waited for the one whose spirit was strong enough, wise enough, compassionate enough to hold this role. And that one is you. He shows me a lineage behind you, stretching back through time. Some spirits bow their heads in gratitude. Others lift their hands in praise. They see what heaven is about to do in your life, and they recognize that your breakthrough is also their redemption. You are carrying the hopes of those who came before you, and heaven honors that wait by releasing blessings that restore what entire generations lost. Then Michael shows me your future descendants, whether children, grandchildren, or spiritual children whose lives you will impact. They are standing on ground that looks fertile, rich, and overflowing. This ground represents the foundation you are creating. A foundation built not from struggle but from abundance. Not from pain but from wisdom. Not from fear but from divine identity. Everything you receive in this season becomes a stepping stone for their destiny. Archangel Michael now brings your attention to a powerful truth. Heaven chooses leaders, not because they ask, but because they have the inner resilience to rise when the world pushes them down. Your entire life has been training for this moment. Every disappointment taught you discernment. Every setback taught you endurance. Every season of lack taught you how to value abundance. Every closed door taught you how to trust your spirit. Heaven was not withholding the blessing, heaven was preparing the vessel. Michael says you were chosen because you do not break, you transform. That is the signature of a chosen one. Not perfection, not flawlessness, but transformation. You rise again and again, sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but always with a spirit that refuses to be extinguished. He now reveals something that strikes the core of your identity. He says heaven chose you for this blessing because you are not driven by greed. You are driven by purpose. You do not desire wealth for vanity. You desire it for stability, freedom, healing, and impact. You are someone who will use resources to uplift, restore, create, and inspire. And heaven invests in those who invest in others. Finally, Michael leans close, lowering his voice into a gentle yet powerful whisper. The next revelation will show you the spiritual contract attached to this blessing and the destiny it is awakening within you. Your entire life is shifting. Heaven is aligning, and your role in the divine story is beginning to shine through. Type "I am the chosen one of my bloodline" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 6610 is now active. My evolving soul, as we step into this next revelation, the spiritual realm opens wider around you, and Archangel Michael's presence becomes almost indescribable. There is a gravity to what he is about to reveal, as though the words he speaks now have been waiting not just years, but lifetimes to reach you. His light gathers around you like a mantle being placed over your shoulders, and he says the time has come for you to understand the spiritual contract attached to your blessing, the sacred agreement written into your destiny long before you entered this world. Michael begins by revealing a profound truth. Certain souls come into this lifetime carrying assignments that require extraordinary resources. These souls are selected before birth, marked with the ability to withstand hardship, pressure, spiritual warfare, and emotional storms because their path is not ordinary. You are one of those souls. Your journey had been filled with challenges not because heaven was punishing you, but because heaven was preparing you to carry influence, preparing you to hold abundance, preparing you to rise into a calling that extends beyond your personal desires. He shows me a spiritual scroll, ancient and glowing with divine fire. The scroll represents your soul contract, an agreement between your spirit and heaven itself. In this contract, there are words written with heavenly ink, elevation, purpose, influence, transformation, generational shift. The blessing you are receiving is not a random gift. It is the activation of what was written about you long before your physical life began. Michael explains that your soul agreed to endure certain hardships so that your spirit could become refined, resilient, and wise. You were never meant to live a small, limited, or average life. You were meant to carry the signature of heaven wherever you go. That signature requires strength. It requires humility. It requires awareness. You were not asked to be perfect. You were asked to be willing. And you have been. He now reveals that the $25 million blessing tied to 11:11 p.m. is more than wealth. It is the unlocking of your spiritual role on earth. Heaven positioned you as someone who would create ripple effects across generations. You were chosen to break cycles that ran through your bloodline for centuries. Patterns of lack, fear, financial limitation, emotional instability, and spiritual blindness end with you. This blessing is a sign that the contract over your life is activating in full power. Michael says something that sends a deep vibration through the spiritual atmosphere. Your blessing is not just for you. It is for the lives your existence will touch. Heaven invests heavily in those who multiply blessings, not those who hoard them. You are someone who gives without being asked. You uplift even when you are tired. You encourage even when no one encourages you. This is why heaven trusts you with abundance. Your heart has already proven itself. Now Michael reveals the second layer of your spiritual contract, the prophecy of your elevation. He shows me another scroll, this one shorter but glowing even brighter. On this scroll is a declaration written in pure golden light. This soul shall rise when the time is right. Michael says that time has arrived. The reason you feel different lately, the sudden sensitivity to energy, the moments of clarity, the strange awareness that something big is coming, is because your spirit is awakening into its assigned identity. The old version of you is dissolving. The upgraded version is emerging. You are stepping into the light of who you were always meant to be. Heaven is not only releasing abundance, heaven is releasing activation. When the blessing arrives, your intuition will sharpen. Your confidence will rise. Your ability to make divine decisions will strengthen. You will attract opportunities that match your spiritual frequency. You will see through people with clarity you never had before. It will feel as though a veil has been removed from your mind and heart. But Archangel Michael also reveals something few people ever hear. Every blessing comes with a calling. Not a burden, not a weight, but a purpose that aligns with the highest version of your soul. Your calling is tied to influence, to speaking truth, to guiding others, to being a vessel of light in places where darkness once seemed stronger. You may not see yourself as a leader, but heaven does. And leadership does not always mean standing on a stage. Sometimes it means living a life so aligned with God's purpose that others naturally rise when they encounter your presence. Michael says, you were chosen to remind people of their own divine identity. This is part of your contract. When you rise, others will rise because of you. When you heal, others will heal through you. When you step into abundance, others will be inspired to believe they can do the same. You are not merely receiving a blessing, you are receiving spiritual authority. He then reveals the final part of this revelation. The blessing coming at 11:11 p.m. is a sign of divine approval. Heaven is signaling that you have completed the preparation phase. The trials were not wasted. The losses were not meaningless. The delays were not failures. Everything was preparing you to handle what is now being delivered. Heaven is saying yes to your next chapter. Archangel Michael concludes this message by saying, The next revelation will unveil how heaven will guide and guard your steps once the blessing arrives. You will not walk into this new season alone. Let this sink deep into your soul. You are stepping into destiny. You are stepping into identity. You are stepping into divine purpose. Type "I activate my contract" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 2294 is now released. I ascended soul, as you move into this next revelation, the atmosphere shifts once more, but this time with a stillness so profound that it feels as if the entire spiritual realm is holding its breath. Archangel Michael stands before you not as a warrior now, but as a guardian, a guide, a celestial mentor who has walked beside your soul long before you ever knew his name. His expression softens, and he says the time has come for you to understand how heaven will guide and guard your steps once the blessing fully manifests into your physical reality. Michael begins by reminding you that abundance is not a destination. It is a journey. The moment the blessing arrives at 11:11 p.m., the path ahead will not become easier simply because you have resources. Instead, your path will become clearer, sharper, more defined. Wealth does not eliminate purpose, it illuminates it. And heaven wants to ensure that every step you take after receiving this blessing aligns with the highest version of who you are becoming. He shows me a vision of you walking along a radiant pathway made of golden light. This path is not straight. It curves, it bends, it leads into directions you may not expect. But each step is illuminated only when you are ready for it. Michael explains that heaven will never reveal your entire future at once because doing so would overwhelm you. Instead, heaven reveals your next step only when your spirit is strong enough to walk it. The blessing you are receiving will accelerate your journey, but that does not mean you will walk without guidance. In fact, you will be more guided than ever before. He says that once the blessing arrives, you will feel a new level of connection with your intuition. The quiet voice inside you, the one you often second-guessed, ignored, or silenced, will become loud and undeniable. It will be heaven's way of steering you, protecting you, and ensuring that your decisions lead to expansion rather than detour. You will notice that your impulses feel purposeful. Your instincts sharpen. Your inner knowing strengthens. This is heaven speaking through your spirit. Michael reveals that 3 guardian angels will move closer into your energetic field once the financial blessing is activated. These are not new angels. They have been with you your entire life, but heaven kept them at a distance until now. He shows me their roles. One angel governs clarity, ensuring your decisions are aligned with truth and not influenced by fear or manipulation. The second governs protection, creating spiritual and emotional barriers against anyone who would try to misuse your kindness or your abundance. The third governs expansion, opening doors that accelerate your calling, relationships, and opportunities. Heaven is not releasing you into abundance unprotected. Heaven is surrounding you with reinforced spiritual support. Michael then shows a vision of your heart glowing with a soft golden light. He explains that abundance can sometimes overwhelm the heart if it arrives before emotional stability. But heaven has strengthened your heart through every hardship you survived. Through disappointment, your heart learned endurance. Through betrayal, your heart learned discernment. Through loss, your heart learned compassion. Through silence, your heart learned to hear heaven. Nothing was wasted. Every chapter strengthened you for the stewardship of the blessing. He says the blessing will not change who you are. It will reveal who you truly are. The person beneath the exhaustion. The person beneath the survival mode. The person beneath the self-doubt. The person beneath the wounded expectations. Heaven is restoring the identity that life tried to suppress. Michael then shifts the revelation to something deeply important. He says heaven will guide your steps through signs, subtle at times, powerful at others. A number repeated. A dream. A sudden thought. A feeling that rises without explanation. A door that closes unexpectedly. A door that opens instantly. These signs are not coincidences. They are heaven's navigational system. Learn to recognize them, he says. Learn to trust them. Your steps will become lighter when you stop doubting the guidance being given to you. He then addresses something many people fear, the possibility of losing the blessing once it arrives. Michael speaks firmly, with authority that fills the entire realm. You will not lose what heaven has ordained for you. The blessing is protected by divine decree. No force, no person, no energy, no circumstance can remove what heaven has released into your life. But the way you walk forward will determine how fully you experience the blessing. Walk with awareness. Walk with wisdom. Walk with the confidence of someone chosen by heaven. And now Michael reveals the next layer of protection, the removal of people who cannot accompany you into your destiny. He says that after the blessing manifests, you will notice certain connections naturally fade. Conversations will feel different. Invitations will feel off. Energies will feel misaligned. This is not rejection. It is divine separation. Heaven is clearing your path so nothing obstructs your elevation. Those who are meant to grow beside you will rise with you. Those who are not will drift away. Let them. He then shows me a breathtaking vision, your future self standing in a place of profound peace, security, and authority. You are no longer questioning your worth. You are no longer doubting your path. You are no longer dimming your light. You are someone who walks with purpose, clarity, and abundance. This is the version of you that heaven has been shaping through every season. Michael says the final piece of guidance for this revelation is simple yet powerful. You are not walking alone. Heaven is walking with you. The blessing may arrive in your hands, but the journey will be guided by divine footsteps beside you. Heaven is elevating you. Heaven is expanding you. Heaven is protecting you. And heaven is not finished. Type "I walk with divine guidance" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 7728 is now active. My victorious soul, as we arrive at this final revelation, the spiritual atmosphere around you shifts into a state of completion. It feels like the closing of a divine circle, a full return to the destiny written for you long before you ever took your first breath. Archangel Michael stands closer now than at any point in this journey, his presence wrapped around you like a mantle of protection and purpose. His wings form a shelter, not out of urgency, but out of reverence for the moment you are stepping into. He says this is where everything comes together. This is where understanding becomes activation. This is where blessing becomes reality. Michael begins by reminding you of how far you have come, not just in this message, but in your life. He shows me flashes, like a reel of memories, moments where you were on the edge of giving up, moments where you felt forgotten, moments where you watched others receive what you prayed for, moments where you held on by sheer spiritual instinct. Heaven recorded all of it. Heaven honored all of it. Heaven built your blessing on the foundation of resilience you never even realized you were demonstrating. He says you have now reached the threshold of manifestation. The blessing aligned with 11:11 p.m. is no longer a future promise. It is an active descent. He shows me the spiritual vault once again, but this time it is not simply open. It is emptying. Streams of golden light flow out of it like rivers seeking the one place they were destined to land: your life, your hands, your timeline. Michael says, The transfer has already begun in the spiritual realm. What was delayed is now released. What was withheld is now given. What was blocked is now flowing. Heaven has made its decision, and that decision is abundance. But Michael wants you to understand something sacred. Your blessing is not just money. It is not just a financial miracle. It is the manifestation of everything heaven had been shaping inside you. Confidence, identity, purpose, discernment, wisdom, clarity, strength. All of these qualities have been forged through your trials, and now they rise to the surface because you will need them as you walk into your new season of abundance. He shows me your future self once again, but this vision is more detailed, more vivid, more grounded. You are standing in a life that looks nothing like the one you came from. Your home feels peaceful. Your relationships feel aligned. Your environment feels abundant. Your mind feels clear. You are no longer someone who hopes for breakthrough. You are someone who walks in breakthrough. You have stepped into a version of yourself that feels regal, steady, protected, and chosen. Michael whispers, "This is not a dream. This is the outcome of being faithful when life tried to break you." But he also wants you to see something else, the ripple effect of your elevation. He shows people around you, family members, friends, even strangers, whose lives will be touched simply because you stepped into your divine assignment. Some of these individuals will find healing through your story. Some will find courage through your transformation. Some will find hope through your abundance. You are not an isolated miracle. You are a source of spiritual ignition for others. Then Michael reveals something that brings this entire journey into focus. He says the reason heaven required your awareness, your presence, and your attention in this message is because abundance requires agreement. Heaven never forces a blessing onto a closed spirit. You have opened your spirit with intention, with humility, with readiness. And that openness is what allowed the blessing to attach itself fully to your timeline. He shows me the moment of activation, 11:11 p.m. But this time, the image is brighter than ever. The 4 golden pillars rise again, representing abundance, purpose, protection, and inheritance. But a 5th pillar appears now, identity. Heaven is not only blessing your circumstances, it is blessing who you are becoming. This 5th pillar signifies the complete awakening of the soul contract you activated in this journey. Michael says, when the time strikes, heaven will seal this blessing over your life. Not temporarily, permanently. Heaven is not giving you prosperity for a season. Heaven is giving you prosperity for a lifetime. He explains that once this final activation takes place, your old cycle will collapse. Lack loses its grip. Fear loses its influence. Doubt loses its voice. You will not return to the patterns you once knew because your spirit has risen too high for those patterns to reach you anymore. He tells you that signs will follow the activation, unexpected opportunities, sudden clarity, emotional lightness, vivid dreams, divine encounters. These are confirmations that the blessing has touched the physical world and is unfolding through your life. But above all, Michael says this blessing is a mirror. It reflects who you have always been, chosen, protected, guided, destined. He then delivers the final message of this entire journey, one spoken with the authority of heaven itself. Walk forward without fear. The blessing is yours. The future is yours. The abundance is yours. Heaven stands behind you now. You have completed the cycle. You have stepped into destiny. You have become the version of yourself heaven always intended you to be. If this message resonates with your spirit, like this video, share it widely, comment your confirmation, and subscribe so you never miss what heaven pours out next. Type "I seal my blessing" in the comments. Blessing code 9990 is now active. As this journey reaches its divine completion, the same light that Archangel Michael has placed over your life is the light we are working to carry across the world. When you support this mission, you are not giving to a channel. You are becoming part of a spiritual assignment that awakens destinies and lifts souls out of darkness. Heaven says that every seed you release becomes a torch in this movement, expanding the reach of revelation and breaking chains for others just as they have broken for you. I speak to you now in first person. I invite you to stand with me in this prophetic work, to help carry this message into places where hope has gone silent. The urgency of this title reflects the urgency of heaven's call, and your act of support becomes a divine echo that returns to you in multiplied blessing. To those who give, I speak overflow, elevation, and supernatural protection over every area of your life. The super thanks, membership, and PayPal donation links are in the description. Step boldly into this moment of obedience and watch heaven respond immediately.